What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Reel Me In, a movie podcast, where you didn't really ask for it, but hey, we're going to give it to you anyways. This is a podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and, well, anything about movies. I'm one of your co-hosts, Chase Lee, and hey guys, listen, if you're searching on the web for another movie podcast, and you accidentally stumbled across this one, like you came inside of our home and you're just like, ooh, I don't know where I'm at right now, you're a little confused, a little disoriented, but you love movies and stuff and you want to take a chance on us, we welcome you, and we think that you'll have a good time, and if you're not a movie fan, we will convince you to be one. That's the whole journey here. We are a community and we all just love the same thing. But if you are a new listener, welcome. If you're a returning listener, welcome to everyone. We love you all, and what we typically do on this podcast is we'll go over some movie news, some movie trailers that drop throughout the week, and then we will have our reviews of movies that drop on the weekend and box office results to accompany that. On this week's episode, it is episode 219, and I will not be reviewing any movie, and that's just because I was busy all weekend, but the wonderful co-host over there that will introduce the movies is Joel over there. Joel, how are we doing this week, and why have I put the burden of both reviews on your shoulders?
Because you hate me. No, you were out of town. And sometimes it's got to happen.
It just has to happen.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm going to be reviewing Annihilation, which is a new movie from Alex Garland, and Game Night, new comedy with Jason Bateman, Rachel McAdams, and several other people. So, yeah, pretty uneventful week for me. Overall, my all of my family literally was sick except for me. I have this weirdly strong immune system, though. I don't think I've gotten sick in maybe 2 years, something like that. I just like in terms of colds and stuff. I just don't get sick. Certainly not stomach stuff. I haven't gotten one of those in probably 10 years. But yeah, so they were all at home basically, and that includes family that are not in my house. My brothers and sisters-in-law and their kids. They were all sick, all of them except for me. So somehow I escaped that, and I just kind of stayed away from them for the most part, so that I wouldn't, and worked, stuff like that. Kind of an uneventful week because of that. So, how was your weekend? Well, and where were you, by the way? Because I don't even know.
Well, I will reveal that in just a second. But I just want people to know that when Joel says that he escaped that, I want you to know that he purposely just planned all this out for his family, and he got away with it. And if his parents are listening right now, listen, I'm assuming you two are good people, and I can't believe your son is trying to poison you. It's just so weird that he would announce that on air. It's so disgusting. All right,
it was sort of like a reverse duplex. You remember that movie with Ben Stiller? Yeah. Where instead of trying to get sick myself, I decided to make everybody else sick. That's what happened.
It's such a weird thing. It's like, yeah, I'm not sick, but everyone else is like, suspicion. My week though was, it was pretty good. Monday I had off, and I watched the rest of season 1 of Game of Thrones with my girl, and I am starting to like the show now and starting to get fully invested, so that's fun. And, of course, I'm just watching a bunch of stuff on Netflix, finishing up Dirty Money, which is very fascinating and eye-opening to that. I
gotta watch that. Yeah, I've heard really good things.
Oh, it's good stuff, man. That episode 6 of Donald Trump, man, if you are a supporter, just give that a watch. And you might hate it, but I think you'll learn something. I'll just say that. But yeah, and then of course Mute dropped on Friday. I want to check that out, and I left out of town Thursday, and I came back. Oh, good Lord, 2 hours ago. So I went to Huntsville, good old prison county here in Texas, and that's where also the Sam Houston State College is, and some of my friends are down there from high school, and so me and another friend that lives in Dallas, we got in the car, we just head down there for the weekend, and it's nice to get away and take a break to where I don't have to I don't have to watch any movies. I don't have to really worry about my diet or like my sleep patterns. just go a little berserk, Joel, and relive my high school days because, I'm getting older. You're getting older. We're getting old. And so I'm trying to relive, some of that as much as possible before, everyone just gets married and moves on. And, that's where I'm at in life. But it was a fun weekend.
Well, I did watch Mute. I watched it, and I will have my review up next week on my website. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say for now. That movie is unfortunate. So let's just say that.
Yeah, I have seen all the critic responses to that movie, and it's not pretty.
Yeah, it's like barely a step above Warcraft, and which is not a good thing. I hate Warcraft. Moon and Source Code were good movies. Source Code's on my top 10 of 2011. So no reason to hate these movies. I just think that maybe he's proving that Moon and Source Code were actually the exceptions. It's possible. There has to be one more movie. Maybe he'll make a good one next time. I don't know. But, man, Warcraft and Mute are bad. So
it gave Joel 30 solid seconds to basically just ruin that surprise for you and just say it was bad. All right, so I want to check it out, and I got other stuff to catch up on, and of course Joel and I saw a movie this past week. We we can't review it.
Can't really talk about it. Yeah,
can't talk about it, but I
think we could start to talk about it Tuesday morning or something like that. But yeah,
exactly. But we will tell you this. I would be surprised if it doesn't hold up as one of the stronger pictures at the end of the year. That's all.
Yeah. It would be a very good year if this somehow fell off. It's a really, really good movie.
Yeah, and I'm excited to talk about it. It's going to be one of the subjects of conversation on an episode in March. That's what I will say. So let's get on with this week's episode, guys, so Joel can get to the wonderful review of Annihilation and Game Night, because I'm excited to hear it. But let's start with some movie news first. Good old Joss Whedon, the director of Avengers Age of Ultron, and he seemed like at the time that he was the comic book director. He was the go-to guy for all these projects. Well, DC Warner Brothers wanted to tap him for like a Batgirl movie, and we kind of talked about that a while ago, but they over at Warner Brothers and DC are going through a kind of executive change, and they're shifting people around. They're getting new leaders, and so I don't know who made this decision, but I think it's actually for the better. Joss Whedon has left Batgirl. I will guarantee you that he got fired because they're trying to make it nice in the headlines, like, oh, he left Batgirl, he was let go. It's like, no, I think they told him to scoot on out. As far as like the actual like how I feel about this, I think it's for the better. I like Age of Ultron better than the first one. I am the exception. I realize that, but I have seen Justice League. And Joel has seen Justice League. And I'm sorry, but like that's what you've done for me last. I have no interest in seeing anything more from him. He did his thing. Let's move on. Go do something else. Because I do feel like if you are attached to a project, or not a project, but a genre for too long, it will become stale. And I kind of noticed that in Justice League, where it's like, yeah, it's not working for me. So I really don't care that he was let go. Let's get some fresh blood in there. Try something new if you're going to keep going with this. I still don't know what their plan is, Joel. It's almost like every week they bring up these random characters and exitings and people coming in. It's like, well, what is your definitive plan? What is going to be your prospects after Aquaman? I still have no clue what they want to do. Like they announced like 20 movies, and then they say that they want to do a complete shift in tone and change, and they don't know what they want, man. And so I'm hoping that this letting go of Joss Whedon is a sign of the new leadership taking action, and maybe we'll see a positive direction for the future. But for now, I think this is fine. So do you have any feelings about this?
This thing is just in such free fall.
Yeah.
It's so sad to see because it had so much potential for years and years and years, and now they tried to hurry into it. They tried to reach their Infinity War before Infinity War came out, essentially, with Justice League, and they did too hurried a job to do it. There's no reason that they can't start over and make a go of it, but they're going to have to take care to take care of it. What they need to do is they need to hire a woman to direct this. Maybe even write it, but specifically to direct it, because obviously Wonder Woman has been, one of their bigger hits, their biggest hit, maybe, right? I can't remember. Anyway,
I think Batman v Superman is the highest grossing thing they've released, and then it's Wonder Woman.
Okay. Well, see, I mean, still, second on that list, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And what they need to do is they need to hire a woman, even if it's not, Patty Jenkins. I don't know if they should go back to another person that directed another movie in the franchise. Not saying that if they did, I wouldn't be too opposed to that. But they need to hire a woman to direct it because that's kind of the thing right now. And I'm not saying they should settle because it's the climate, but they should do it because Wonder Woman made bucks. And I think that Batgirl's story. One of Joss Whedon's claims is that he didn't have a story, which is so funny to me because that he would admit to that. But of course, I don't think that Joss Whedon really. I don't think that he willingly lies to people, like just to audiences. So I think that literally that was his way of just saying, "Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing." He had no story, and I think that what they need to do is they need to get a screenplay before they hire a director, and I think that for the director they need to hire a woman to tell the story. That's my thought. But honestly, that's only the immediate thought about this movie. What they need to do is they need to start over and get to Batgirl when they can, when it makes sense. And I don't think right now it makes sense. So that's what I'm hoping is that they wait. Not because I want them to delay yet another movie directed by a woman. I'm not saying that. I think that they need to start over, and then I think they need to get to a Batgirl movie, if at all, when it makes sense to, in the new plan. I think that they need to start over in the new decade. Just, wipe the slate clean. Start with a Batman movie, then go on with a Superman movie, then move from there, because those are the kind of two, the two faces of the franchise. But they need to do it like Marvel in order to be as notable as Marvel. And they clearly did not do that, and people noticed. So I don't know, man. It's hard. It's hard. But certainly happy that Whedon got out while he could, and while he saw that he didn't really have a plan in place, because otherwise we would have a disaster on our hands. And I suspect that he was fired. I think that he was fired because, one, he didn't have an idea. He was not given time before signing on to come up with an idea, and also they saw that he came in with Justice League and honestly kind of probably screwed it up, directorially and story wise. I think that they no longer have any interest in working with him, and so I think that's what happened.
I mean, yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I have nothing more to add. I just think it was from the lackluster delivery of Justice League.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, guys. So that's pretty much all there is to say about that, honestly. I mean, it's a fairly big news story, but there's not a lot of layers to it. This next one is surprising. So literally last week we reported that the director of the Paddington movies, Paul King, in addition to possibly working on Paddington 3, is also going to, has basically projects lined up. Last week we reported that he's going to be directing Willy Wonka, which is a reboot of course, the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory story from the point of view of Willy Wonka. And then now we learn that he's in talks to direct Disney's live-action Pinocchio remake. Now, I'm going to make a joke, and then I'm going to never make this joke again on air. Are you ready, Chase?
I don't know if I should be getting a lawyer on the phone or like what do I need to do?
Maybe. What they need to do is they need to bring Jonathan Taylor Thomas back. And I'm just kidding.
That's
All
not
right.
more of a joke. That's just sad. That's just sad, Joel. Come on, don't make jokes at the expense of that man.
Or what they need to do is they need to get, and yes, this person once played Geppetto. They need to cast Jonathan Taylor Thomas against Drew Carey. And then I'm just kidding. All right, so um, I love the silence on the other end. I think
I
it's
have
probably...
nothing to add to that weirdness that just spewed out of your mouth.
Oh boy, Chase loves me, guys. So no, this is great. I said last week that I want Paul King to be in charge of pretty much any family-based entertainment that he can be, and I love this idea. I just love the idea of him being attached to pretty much anything. I suspect that they're going to go the motion capture route because for the at least for the the doll version of this or the puppet version of this character, I think that that's really the only thing that makes sense. They're probably not going to try the weird, awkward, like puppet thing that they did with Jonathan Taylor Thomas's character in the Pinocchio movie that he was in back in the whenever it was, I think 2000 or something, which was just a wooden puppet, and they would alter his nose to become longer through computers, and it looked awkward. I suspect that they're going to probably do mocap. That's what I'm guessing, or a Paddington type of kind of very photorealistic character that interacts with the real humans. But yeah, I'm super excited for this. I think that it's one of my favorite Disney movies, by the way, from the golden era. Love Pinocchio. That movie is remarkably underrated. It's not talked about as being one of the best. It was Roger Ebert's favorite movie of that era of Disney. Certainly worth paying attention to on that level. It's a great dark story, and I love it. And I think that this is a perfect fit of director and material. So I know that you still haven't seen the Paddington movies, but are you excited to hear that this director now, literally second project in as many weeks for family-based entertainment? Are you excited about that, considering that this means that he's getting a lot of buzz surrounding him?
Yeah, I mean, this basically tells me that I need to get my ass onto Paddington and Paddington 2 pronto. Like,
yes, you do.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, if you're being thrown all these projects, this just reaffirms to me that not only one, the system, Hollywood, whatever you want to call it, believes in him, and also when you look at the Rotten Tomato scores and the reviews of Paddington 1 and Paddington 2, it is astounding how high it is. So I know that people love this franchise and love this director's style, so this sounds like a win-win to me. As far as your point on the whole CGI Pinocchio, that's definitely the route they're going to go. It's going to have that,
and obviously the whale and all of that. I mean, it'll be CGI all around, and I'm fine with that.
Can you imagine if he took his kind of Wes Anderson cinematography to that source material?
Oh man, it's gonna be great. Yeah,
that would look pretty
Crazy.
good. But yeah, I need to watch Paddington 2. Once again, I'm pretty sure Joel will bug me until the end of this year because Paddington 2 was a 2018 release. So I know he's going to want me to do that. So yeah, no further comments. But Willy Wonka and Pinocchio, I'm totally down, and I would have to agree with you. Any Disney movie, animated movie prior to Little Mermaid 1989, I was born in 1990, so that's kind of where it starts for me and starts for Joel. If we're talking about golden era, Pinocchio is definitely top 3. I mean, there's no running around that. It
is a great movie, and I love every inch of that movie. It's visually, it's one of the most visually dazzling in general, I think, even like for its time, but throughout the years, I think it's one of the most visually interesting Disney animated movies around. I think that from that era, it's between that and Sleeping Beauty for me, but it's amazing, and I love every second, and I can't wait to see a live action version. I've been wanting this to be told in a definitive way for a long time. I've seen every single live action version that they've made since then, except I think the Roberto Benigni one that kind of caused a stir in 2002. I haven't seen that. I think we have it at work somewhere. I'll probably rent it, but I've seen the others. I've seen the one with Drew Carey. I've seen the one with Jonathan Taylor Thomas. There was one other one. I've seen that as well. I love the story. I'm just So you heard it here. I'm a Pinocchio fan.
So I have to ask you then, because I know he was rumored for a while. Would you still be okay if he got Robert Downey Jr. to play Geppetto?
It's interesting casting. I think that I would want them to skew a little older, personally, but certainly if they got him for like this interesting revisionist take on it, on the character, he's a little young, but he also does an absolutely perfect kind of British accent, and that's what I see this having, is sort of a British telling. And according to directors who have worked with him, he is the best actor, American actor, to do an English accent. So certainly they could do that. Or Italian, I guess, if whatever. But it would certainly be interesting casting. And I know for a while Sam Mendes was the one who was attached to this. He left last November, just a few months ago. So they've been looking for somebody else, and I think that they've gone with a much more fitting choice. Not that I don't like Sam Mendes, but I feel like he's a little more adult-minded. And Paul King is perfect, especially right now that he's kind of taken the critical world by storm. So I cannot wait. All right, yeah. So great. This is probably my favorite news story, to be completely honest.
Oh wait, the one we just did, or the one I'm about to?
The one we just did. Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, hey, listen. You know what? The one I'm about to announce is actually pretty dope as well. If this actually goes through. So Danny Boyle, he is kind of well known in the film buff community. I don't think he's not like a widely known director to many people, even though several of his movies have gotten Oscar recognition all over the board. But he himself, a lot of people do not know. You know, this is the same guy behind 28 Days Later, Slumdog Millionaire, 127 Hours, Trance, Steve Jobs, Trainspotting. T2 Trainspotting, the sequel. So he's done a lot of great stuff in the kind of indie, almost like indie borderline middle film market. I guess the biggest one he's done, I don't know, maybe Slumdog Millionaire, because that was more of like an epic, I guess. But other than that, he hasn't really done anything like, I would say, like on blockbuster epic scale. There's nothing wrong with that. And he has only written a couple things. Now, he's written a couple of episodes for this Hamish Macbeth show from 1997, and he wrote 127 Hours, which is the James Franco real-life story where his first name's Aaron. He goes on a bike ride, gets his arm caught in between some rocks, and, of course, if you have not seen it, I think you know what happens. This is a survival tale. So the story is that Danny Boyle's being tapped to write Bond 25, and that's pretty cool. Now here's where I'm just going to keep it from a real point of view. He has only written one screenplay, and that would probably be my only worry, but I don't know, man. Like 127 Hours is a great film, so I mean, if he could bring that style to this and make a really great character-driven Bond film, and hell, if it's a good script, I really hope. I forgot who has it because the Bond rights are up, and I don't know who got it. But I really hope they tap him to direct it. I think a Danny Boyle type of Bond film would be interesting because he's made not really action-heavy movies, which I think this is why it would be an interesting choice because he's more character. Dialogue-driven type of films. Now he has great edited films, kind of like 28 Days Later, with that kind of like paranoia, fast style type of editing, or 127 Hours, where it's got great pace to it, and it's just about a guy stuck in between some rocks. Steve Jobs, which is like all dialogue based. So, but as far as like action goes, I haven't really seen anything from him. Maybe besides Trance, because that was kind of like a heist movie. Yeah, no, I'm cool with this. Like I said, my only trepidation is the fact that he's only written one screenplay. So I don't know if he's just gonna like full on write the screenplay, do the story. Don't really know, but I think this is good news overall. So Joel, I know you're a fan of the Boyle. Do you?
Yes, big fan.
Is this something you'd be on board with if you know, a guy that's primarily character dialogue driven films with little action? Do you think he is a good pick to tackle a Bond film?
Well, it's interesting. In terms of, the fact that he might be writing the story, I don't really have any feelings toward that because I don't have much of a connection to the Bond movies. There's people more qualified to talk about that from that angle. But in terms of his directing, even though he's not done a lot of movies with action, he has an incredibly kinetic style.
Yeah.
Even if it's something like Steve Jobs, where the kineticness or whatever, I don't know what the noun is, where the kinetic nature is in the dialogue. That movie was, mostly Sorkin as opposed to Boyle, even though he included some style in it. I look at some of his other movies as precursors, and I think that he might be a really good choice. It's just going to be interesting coming off the heels of Sam Mendes, who kind of took this classical style to the filmmaking. There was a lot of straight on looking at the action, making sure that we know where everybody is in terms of geography in the scene. With Boyle, it might be the same way, but there's going to be a lot more movement. And I think that it could feel a lot like Quantum of Solace, to be completely honest, in terms of the action. And I'm a big fan of Quantum of Solace, so I'm fine with that. So yeah, I think that this is a pretty interesting fit. I'm going to have to see a little bit more, see a trailer, see how he approaches it on a visual level. But I think that he incorporates a lot of, with, hand in hand with a cinematographer, a lot of very interesting canted and kind of Dutch angles, close, shots of people and stuff. And that could be very interesting and an interesting kind of turn for the Bond franchise. And yeah, I like this for now. I want to see more for sure.
Yeah, I think as a next chapter in a Bond film, I mean, I was kind of getting tired of the franchise because I thought Spectre was kind of flat.
Spectre is so boring.
Yeah. It's boring.
I said that Mendes took a classical style. He kind of took too classical a style with Spectre because it never lifted off past the opening scene.
Yeah.
And I love Skyfall. I love Skyfall. I think Skyfall is superb, but Spectre...
Well, and that's where I was kind of going with this is that, after Spectre, our, anticipation's kind of a little further down than we would expect for a new Bond film. But if you add someone like a Danny Boyle to the mix, just from a pre-production writing standpoint, oh my God, they could go places with this movie. So that's where the main story lies, is that this is kind of like the ignition start to what could be a really great Bond film. And so, Joel, that's probably that's probably my favorite piece of news. I'm going to say it.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I guess I can understand that, considering you just haven't seen Paddington.
Correct.
Yeah. So, probably. I mean, it's kind of close between the two, but I'm just such a big fan of Pinocchio and want to see that come to life in a way that's very special. That movie means a lot to me. So that's probably why it's my favorite bit of news. All right, so this next one, it's going to be pretty quick, I can imagine. So, because I don't care at all about this. All right, so although a lot of people might, because this is a gaming franchise that has a lot of fans. Dungeons and Dragons, once upon a time had this infamous movie adaptation with Jeremy Irons and bunch of other people that actually I can't remember who it was, but directed by the person who would go on to make, I think, was it Whiteout? No, it wasn't Whiteout. I know Gone. No, 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 not Gone in 60 Seconds. There's a couple of movies that the director did after that were just really small, and it was supposed to like launch careers, and it was apparently terrible. I know that I've seen it, but I don't remember a single frame, and I know that it's pretty infamous. So they're trying to reboot this franchise, and they're putting it in the hands of Chris McKay, who is one of the people who directed he directed the Lego Batman movie. He's trying to get a Nightwing movie off the ground, and meanwhile, Allspark Pictures and Paramount are trying to get a new G.I. Joe installment in the works and the first Micronauts movie. So they've, I guess, kind of used that as a way to leverage this to become a thing. And it's currently on the calendar for July 23rd, 2021. So it's interesting because there's been a script apparently that's like been floating around for almost 20 years or something. By a man named Michael Giglio. So they're trying to get him to, his script to kind of, come to life. He's only done one other movie that actually is like his own thing, which is a 2001 comedy called Quick Stop. I've never heard of it. And then, so this is really just not my kind of thing. It's, you had that one movie. I think that there was like another sequel type thing that came out a few years later, or at least we have one that's sold in a double feature with the more popular one. I don't know if it's a sequel or a companion piece or what, but we had those two. They didn't really do anything for anybody, so I don't even know who's going to care about this beyond the fans, and I don't even know if the fans are going to care about this, considering the last movie that they remember having of this was one that's known to be terrible. So, do you have any feelings about this?
Did you say Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I must have spaced out. I was just like, you were describing it. You just never.
Maybe.
I was like,
oh, did I not? I don't know if I did that.
That just shows you how much he cares.
Maybe I didn't. Maybe because I was about to say Dungeons and Dragons, and maybe I said something else. But yes, this is Dungeons and Dragons. So
I was just like, so Joel cares so little that he doesn't even want to announce it to you guys. All right, so my quick thing, I played the Magic cards one time in high school. Those type of games never really caught my attention. I've never seen the movie. As far as this news goes, I could care less. It could turn out to be a cool little side thing that looks like Lord of the Rings. I don't know, but I mean, we'll just have to see where it goes. But as far as Chris McKay doing it, he's been he directed the Lego Batman movie, and he was a part of the creative process of the Lego movie. So that's really all I know him for as of right now. Joel, let's just move on to the last story. I mean, seriously, if you're a fan of the the game, card game, the movies or whatever, and you want to see this, I bet it could be good, given what I've seen Chris McKay do with the Batman movie. It's like, cool, what have you done for me last? Lego Batman movie? Loved it. Cool, can't wait to see your next project type of deal. I just have to see something in motion to make any comment, because I never played the cards or any of that.
This was honestly a filler thing because there just wasn't much this week. I was like, okay, well, I mean, I guess we might as well tell people, but there's really not much to talk about for us. I know that I sat down and watched the Jeremy Irons thing. I know that I did. I have the distinctive memory of watching it on TV one day, but I could not tell you what happens in that movie, and I could not tell you what I thought of it. It was probably something like 15 years ago. So this will give me a chance, because I've got my new rule of like, if something's coming out and it's like a reboot or whatever, and I haven't seen the previous thing that shared that, the title in that decade, then I'll revisit it. It's what I'm going to do with The Strangers, for instance, in a couple weeks, and the Tomb Raider movies. So this will certainly, because it'll be almost 20 years by that point, give me a chance to revisit. But yeah, I don't remember the movie, and I don't have any particular thoughts about the thing.
Yeah,
So yes,
so sorry to disappoint you, all Dungeons and Dragons fans. I have never played it, and you're probably screaming at me, but that's okay. Joel and I are nerdy about other stuff. I just really never got into that. Not a problem though. So the last piece of news was to be expected on many levels. Jessica Chastain is in talks, which basically means she's about, I'd say, like 75% confirmed for this until she signs the dotted line. It makes all sense in the world, and I'll get to my points here in a second, but she's being in talks to play Beverly in the It Chapter 2, where they are adults, from the first one where they are kids. Just a little side thing. This has nothing to do with the story, but I have seen that movie 3 times, and I kind of love it now. I know that in the initial review that Joel and I did, I liked it, but I think the more I watch it, just the more I love it, man. It's going to become one of those like horror classics that people.
it's a fun movie, yeah.
It's good stuff, man. And believe it or not, I actually did all the special features, including the deleted and extended scenes. By the way, I have a huge bone to pick with Warner Brothers. Some of that stuff you could have left in there. There was one deleted scene that I think lasted like 15 seconds. And I was like, this was pivotal to the movie. There were several scenes that were pivotal to the movie in the expansion of like some characters. There was one that was shocking. This is a movie where there was rumored to have like Pennywise eating a baby. And there was a deleted scene that was shocking to me that they didn't throw there because it changed the whole course of a character. And I actually like the alternative ending better. And so I'm just like, this is just like a side rant because I got the Blu-ray back in January and I watched all the deleted scenes because I was curious as to what they cut out. My God, Warner Brothers, get it together. As far as this piece of news, makes sense on 2 counts. One, she kind of looks like Beverly grown up, and I'm totally fine with that. It's not just the red hair. If you do look at the face, I can see the actress that played Beverly as a child growing up to looking like Jessica Chastain, so I think the looks are pretty much there. And 2, Jessica has worked with the director before. I don't know if is Muschietti supposed to come back for Chapter 2?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, so Andy Muschietti did the film Mama from 2013. That also starred Chastain. They have a working relationship. She kind of looks like Beverly, child counterpart growing up. I'm cool with this. I like Jessica Chastain. There are some people out there that don't like her. Don't know why. But
they're not human. That's why.
Yeah, I was just like, she's such a delightful human being, and she's such a great actress. I can tell you right now, when Joel and I saw Molly's Game, which felt like a 5-year-long movie, we didn't really care for it, but Jessica Chastain is definitely good in that movie. It's like she can do really no wrong. She tries to make the best that she can in every movie. It may not be the best movie, but she gives 110%. Now, I know Joel and I had this kind of thought process when we heard the announcement of the sequel as to whether you should cast big-name actors and actresses or keep it small. I'm cool with the mix, where Jessica Chastain isn't really big. She's big in our world, but as far as the public, movie-going audience that sees like one movie a month, she's honestly not that big. But if you add like her and maybe a couple others that are medium-sized, maybe big, and then the rest are unknown, I think having a good mix would probably be well for the sequel. But as far as her playing Beverly, I'm totally down for that. That just seems like a perfect match to me, Joel. A perfect match.
I would have been shocked if she wasn't cast, to be completely honest, because of the fact that they have a working relationship. She looks so much like her, with the red hair, the freckles, all of that. She just looks like an older Beverly. And, it's, as far as it's perfect casting, first of all, I think that she'll fit the character very well. As far as the casting of other people, I think that, if they wanted to, they could afford an insanely huge cast. But I'm with you because the first person that I went to for Finn Wolfhard's counterpart was Paul Rust. I don't know if you saw I Love You, Beth Cooper.
Well, I was gonna say that I know him from the show Love on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize he was on that. But
He's
yeah,
he's really good in that show, by the way.
okay, I do need to watch that. That's who I immediately went to for him. Because I really liked him. I'm a big fan of I Love You, Beth Cooper, which is one of the most like critically maligned movies of the entire like century so far. I'm a huge fan of that, and he was a really like bright talent in that movie. Had a small part in Glorious Bastards, just after or before that, whatever. And I think that he's a solid talent, and I think that he should play him. But he's not that big of a star, so I think that he would kind of fit this what you're talking about, where it's sort of like the medium to low range kind of movie stars. I totally get that. A crazy cast of like people that you wouldn't expect is probably the best thing here. That's at least my thought. I don't want to go into like who I want because I don't like building that up in my mind, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing who else is cast in this alongside her. Yeah, so very excited for Chapter 2, particularly because we'll get to see Bill Skarsgård in his, makeup interact with these people. And, like what if they, for some reason, somehow get Christian Bale to play Jack Dylan Grazer's role or something? It'd be crazy to imagine, these big stars kind of in this movie with the devilish clown, and it's exciting to think about that. So big fan of this news, but my favorite bit of news was the Pinocchio news. I know yours was Bond 25. I want to find out what other people's are, so let's get some comments below. Tell us what your favorite is, and we will move on now to the trailers. Now guys, the first trailer is very interesting. So, not sure when this movie comes out. IMDb says it's in theaters in March, but I don't know about that. I haven't heard any confirmation. This one is called Best Friends, and it is from director Justin McGregor, and I'm not kidding there. The person that I'm about to tell you is in this movie did not direct this movie. I thought that he did until literally just now to make sure that I would have the facts right. But it is written by Greg Sestero. And Greg Sestero is a name that you probably recognize for being the co-star and line producer of The Room. And his co-star in Best Friends is Tommy Wiseau. Now, this movie is about a drifter played by Sestero who befriends a quirky mortician who's played, of course, by Tommy Wiseau, because Tommy Wiseau looks like a quirky mortician. And they basically have this like business partnership. They form this business partnership together, and they kind of they basically like some paranoia develops in that relationship. And so this looks obviously significantly better than The Room, but I gotta tell you, it's not very promising to me. It's just basically interesting because of the fact that it repairs Greg Sestero and Tommy Wiseau. That's basically the only reason this thing is very interesting. But I gotta say, it'll be really fascinating to see them two in a movie together that isn't directed by Tommy Wiseau, considering the last one they were in together is The Room. So it's gonna be very interesting to see them under the direction of somebody else in a movie where they're not playing those characters. It's gonna be utterly fascinating. And even if the movie doesn't look all that special or interesting, that's the kicker here. So I'm curious, did you have pretty much the same reaction?
Believe it or not, this is my second favorite trailer of the week. I liked it. I mean, because like the thing is, these two guys have nailed the art form of like good bad filmmaking. It's so strange that they're still doing stuff, and it's just I can't really get mad at them. It's like, do your thing, guys. But this one is going to be, like you said, more interesting because, one, it is not directed by Wiseau, and two, it is written by Greg this time instead of Tommy. Tommy's basically, as far as I know, just one of the stars. So he kind of takes more of a back seat to this one. So maybe taking him off of a lot of roles will, I don't know, maybe it doesn't have to be the best performance ever, or even in the same year, or even in the same month. But maybe we can get a really fun one from him that actually fits his character. I mean, a quirky mortician kind of looks like one. And so morticians to me, and if you're a mortician that listens to our episode, we thank you. But this is my impression that I get of morticians is that they're a little antisocial. And that's all they do is just work on dead bodies all day, all night, don't talk to anyone, have no friends, go home and eat ramen noodles and watch old Netflix episodes. I'm sorry, that was mean. And so
if you're a mortician listening to our podcast, please do not tell us whether or not you listen to our podcast while working on dead bodies, because we don't want to know that. We don't want to know that.
We definitely don't want to know that. But if you do, and this is how you work properly, then God bless you. All right, so so anyways, yeah, no, I actually kind of liked it. And this is I'm not making a joke or anything. It kind of reminded me of obviously an extreme lesser version of it. But Joel, did it kind of give you like Good Time vibes a little bit?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. It kind of had like that kind of like.
It sort of has the visual style of Good Time. I mean, probably not as polished, but
yeah, definitely. But I mean, like it had like that kind of same like underground, like gritty city vibe at nighttime. I don't know. It kind of reminded me of, like I said, obviously a lesser version of it, but interested nonetheless. And I actually would pay money to see this movie. I'm not even lying.
Now we just got to get some clarification on when it comes out, because it's one
of
those.
Right now on IMDb, it says
it literally says March 2018.
Correct. And so if we can just go from there, I mean, it'll probably be released on iTunes, I assume.
Yeah, probably so.
But yeah,
I'll keep an eye out for it. And...
Oh God, I will tell you this right now: if Joel and I get an invite to that, we are going to be there pronto. Like, I will drop everything and go to that.
Yeah. I'm certainly interested to, because I feel like my rule is that any actor can work with the right material, and I think that if given the right material, like for instance, there's this like it's mostly a joke, I think, but there's a thing online to try to get Tommy Wiseau to play the Joker, which I think is perfect because he's got that kind of crazy, weird accent that you can't place, and the face with the, I guess, scars or whatever that you could like cover up with makeup and then give him the smile, and it would look pretty creepy. And that's, not trying to like insult his look or whatever if he happens to be listening to this, but just he does have that sort of off kilter look, and I think that any actor can work with the right material, and this it might bring out a decent performance. We'll see. I'd never count anyone out. So that's my rule. That's my rule. And so
I mean, hey, listen, it might have been shot on basically a piece of cardboard, but you know what? I want to see it, so sue me. Next one is actually my favorite one of the week. I could probably assume that it is for Joel just because of who's in it, but I'm not going to say her name because I always screw it up. But this one is you said. Is it Chesil?
Yeah, Chesil.
Oh, Chesil. Okay, so On Chesil Beach is the next one, and this one stars Q Joel.
Saoirse Ronan.
Saoirse Ronan. There you go. And so, anyways, I mean, I have the IMDb page open. I try not to read off of it. I try to give you like my synopsis thoughts because that's what a trailer's purpose is supposed to do. Saoirse Ronan and what's his name?
Billy Howell, I think.
Billy Howell. They form a relationship. It is in the 60s, and so you can kind of see where this is going. It's young love. It's a drama. It's romance. And, it's at a specific time in our history where, sexual kind of awakenings are, prevalent. And, society pressures, and according to IMDb, it says right here it's based on a novel, and all this stuff within the romance leads to an awkward and fateful wedding night. That's cool and all, but I like the trailer quite a bit. I think it has just a really good blend of that romance, of that drama, and it looks like we're going to see some really great performances here. I wish they didn't reveal too much. It almost seemed like we saw the end of the movie in one particular scene. I will not say, but it felt like we were watching in a couple of the scenes the third act, and I really didn't like that. Other than that, I love the trailer. So that I have nothing more to add. I'm excited to see Saoirse Ronan do more stuff, especially since she starred in one of Joel's favorites last year and mine, Lady Bird, and she's just on a roll. So yeah, this actually looks really good as a drama romance. I have nothing more except for, like I said, just revealed a little too much.
Yeah, I always hope with these types of things that it's a prisoner's situation where it seems like it's revealing everything, and then there's a whole second half that they don't touch on or something.
Hey, listen, one can hope.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, I mean, it definitely does seem like it revealed a little too much. It's a good trailer. It's not my favorite trailer of the week, but it is a good trailer. Looks like a solid romantic melodrama with a puzzle at the middle of it. I hear that it's fashioned in puzzle form, so that it's probably not told in order. I'm not sure about that. I've heard conflicting reports, but definitely interested in seeing it. Comes out, I think, mid-May, which seems kind of like the perfect release date for this. So we will see how this turns out for sure. Our next trailer is The Outsider. This is a Netflix movie with Jared Leto as a Westerner who decides to join the Yakuza. And I'm just going to say it. This movie looks like a boring waste of space. I mean, Jared Leto looks good, but it looks like he's giving literally the same performance that he gave in Blade Runner 2049 in terms of the voice inflection and attitude. Otherwise, it just looks like your general, blah action movie. Like it's trying to, give us another John Wick type thing. I don't know. It just doesn't look very good to me. Netflix has been dropping the ball for a while now, to be completely honest, in their narrative features. And this doesn't look like it's going to bounce us back from stuff like Mute and the Cloverfield Paradox to me. So, whatever for me.
It's a well shot trailer.
I mean, it looks sleek, but that can only really get you so far.
That can only get you so far, and I get that. And it doesn't look like Jared's trying anything different. I know I realize a lot of people online were upset that an American actor is portraying someone joining the Yakuza, which is one of the most infamous, gangs in Japan, and so. The story itself is about an American that goes to Japan during World War II. So I don't understand where the controversy is. Now, if it was straight up just a story about someone living in Japan and it was Jared Leto joining the Yakuza, I might have something to say. But given the actual story and who his character is, it's fine. But as far as the actual trailer goes, it looks good. It actually had a pretty nice pace to it. It looks like a decent little crime drama. It's just, I agree with Joel. It just looks like they're not really. Well, Jared doesn't look like he's trying anything different, and given the responses to Cloverfield Paradox and Mute and all these other Netflix movies, it seems like the trust is kind of forgotten a little bit. Between Netflix and the public, and Netflix is just pumping out stuff, and I liked Cloverfield Paradox. I haven't seen Mute yet, but just given the response from the overwhelming majority, they really got to do something different with their movies, and this trailer doesn't really get me excited. It's
Scott Mendelsohn put it really well. They're basically just, I think it was Scott Mendelsohn, might have been somebody else. They're basically just the new direct-to-video. Because all of these things, all of these movies that they're releasing now with these high concept but low return kind of filmmaking is exactly what direct-to-video does.
Yeah.
For
Unfortunately.
direct-to-video film prospects, and they're just not interesting, especially Mute. Oh, sorry. Can't get over how boring that movie is. It was 126 minutes and it felt like 6 hours to me.
All right,
Anyway,
Joel, it is already bad enough to see all these bad reviews going into it. So let me watch it, and then we can talk about it. But every time when I hear someone just moan and groan about it, it makes me just dread the fact that I still have to watch it. So
I will record a secret podcast of me talking about it for 6 hours and give it only to you.
Wait a minute. Would you record a separate episode talking about Mute, but you don't actually speak anything, and it's a Mute podcast? Just silence?
Maybe for the giggles.
Just making sure. But yeah, Netflix, please do something different. But I will say that you are on the right track for the majority of your shows, so you have something going on. But yes, your movies need some work. All right. So this next one comes out March 23rd, but they dropped a trailer what seems like 2 years ago. But it's coming out shortly. It's called Pyewacket. What a weird name. It almost reminds me of the Bye Bye Man and the shudders I just think about. All right. Anyways, this one is about a teenage girl. She wakes up in the woods, and it revolves around rituals and witches and killing. It's a horror film. Yay. As far as the actual trailer goes, because I did see this one last year, but this was kind of a slow week, and Collider reported on this and whatnot, so we're talking about it. And, it comes out here shortly, anyways. The trailer just looks like a generic PG-13, type of movie. I don't know what to say. It just, you said it was from the producer of The Witch, right?
Yeah, the producer of The Witch and the director of a movie that I quite liked from a few years ago called Backcountry, which was about a couple who goes into the woods and then they're attacked by a bear. And it had a really cool sense of isolationism, and and then the producer of The Witch.
Interesting. I never saw Backcountry, but as far as the VVitch goes, I have seen that, and I love the Witch. Can't wait to see the Lighthouse with him and directing Robert Pattinson, Willem Dafoe. But as far as this one goes, looks generic. I have nothing more to it. Could be a surprise, and it's definitely going to catch headlines because of its weird-ass name. But other than that, I don't really see this movie going anywhere beyond that. It might be a good hit on iTunes and rental, but I can't really see it go anywhere beyond that. Joel, what do you got?
This is my favorite trailer of the week. Yeah, no, I disagree with you, but that's okay. I mean, I know that you're not totally down on this. For me, it was just extremely atmospheric and really intriguing. And I can't lie. I mean, it was cool seeing a couple of Degrassi veterans in here. For me, if there are any, Degrassi fans out there, you'll recognize in this trailer Katie Matlin and Miles Hollingsworth III. They're more recent Degrassi stars rather than older ones, but so it was just neat seeing them in here, and I don't know, whatever. I totally get your points. I just felt like it was atmospheric and cool, and the concept of the mother in this, her role in this is pretty neat, and so I'm excited.
Let me just reiterate something. I'm a huge horror fan. I will give horror a chance for the most part, but as far as anticipation levels and actually wanting to see this, would I actually pay money to see it? No. Would I rent it? A strong possibility. If we're invited to a screening, I'll go. I'll just say that. I'm just not willing to be like, woo, let's go see Pyewacket, so I'm just not super pumped about it.
Please say that like that about something else though.
Oh God.
All right, so our last trailer. This is an interesting thing. This is the most fascinating trailer of the week. It's not a particularly good one, but I'm curious to see it anyway. It's called Thy Kingdom Come. Now, this is interesting. So there's a director, and I'm sorry, I forgot his name, but he decided to take
That would be Eugene Richards.
Eugene Richards. I knew it started with an E. He decided to take some of the unshot material, I guess borrowed it from Terrence Malick, of To the Wonder, particularly the segments involving Javier Bardem's character Father Quintana. Probably the best. I'm a big fan of that movie, and it's the best part of that movie. Is this priest who spends the entirety of the movie questioning the existence of his God. Obviously, through the whispered kind of narration of the movie, is Malick's second of 4 movies that took on that kind of style. And so apparently this is going to use some of the unshot material to frame a story that follows a bunch of other different people. We see a few of them. We don't really get a sense of who they are, but we see somebody with like a Confederate flag, so clearly a Southerner. We see some people of color here. So apparently just like a wide range of people. And I mean, it's an interesting concept, I suppose, to take this approach to this part of the story of To the Wonder. But yeah, I'm just going to have to see how this is before coming to any sort of conclusion, because it's interesting. It's not a particularly well put together trailer. I think Chase and I were just talking about it before the podcast. It seems more like something that you prove to investors, like a pitch or something. But if they come out with this, I'm definitely down to see whatever it is, because, experiments, film doesn't move forward without them. So I'm curious.
Wait, is that as far as you were going to go? You're like, experiments? Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's one of the weirdest ones I've seen in a while. Because they're describing this as a work of documentary and fiction, and so obviously taking clips from that movie and then adding your own documentary spin on. I don't know. It's one of those things that I want to see. Oddly enough, it's just when you have a trailer represent it that way, doesn't really get me excited. It's just more of like, hey, we didn't know what we were doing. Hey, we're premiering at South by here in a couple weeks. Let's just throw something together and say we're coming to South by. Yeah, people come and see it. So I'm sure we'll hear stuff about it as South by, it happens here pretty shortly. Joel and I will always follow that stuff from, I'm sure we'll talk about it off air. But as far as the actual trailer goes, try better, try harder, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. But the concept, cool. I'm down for it. But as far as the actual execution to represent your movie, not good. But maybe the premiere at South by will change our minds. I have no clue. So, all right, that will do it for the trailers, guys. So let us know what is your favorite one down below. I guess Joel is into the weird, the oddly named ones with good old Pie Wacket. But that's fine. Joel can like what he likes. All right, so let's get into the discussion of this episode, because I'm really excited to hear Joel talk about it, because nothing more split and controversial that I have heard of in a while, which is Annihilation, and of course a new dark comedy classic, maybe from game night. It has just been a weird weekend for movies, so I will hand it over to Joel, and I'm gonna kind of interject here and there and just kind of ask Joel about the movie, so it's not just like I feel like I'm like dead off air for like 30 minutes. Keep it engaged. But Joel, which one would you like to do first?
I'm just going to go in alphabetical order. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Annihilation. This one comes from director Alex Garland, who of course kind of took the world by storm a couple years ago with his directorial debut Ex Machina, and has been writing for a while. He wrote Sunshine. He wrote 28 Days Later.
Speaking of Danny Boyle.
Yeah, he's a Danny Boyle. He works with him a lot. So Ex Machina was good. I'm not as amazed by the movie as a lot of people were back then, but I will say that it was quite the event to see it win Best Visual Effects at the Oscars.
Yeah,
Quite
that
something.
beating Mad Max that year was
Yeah,
pretty
Mad Max,
impressive.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
I can't remember what else, but yeah, it was really something else to watch that happen, and it was a worthy win. It was my personal choice. So because it's detailed work, and so I was excited for this. Obviously, it was on my top 10 most anticipated films of the year. Y'all remember that on the episode, and yeah, so I gotta say I liked it. I didn't like it as much as I wanted to, but it's something else for sure. So the story of this movie is that it follows a biologist who works at Johns Hopkins. Her name is Lena, and she's played by Natalie Portman. Lena has a past in the military, and so she is asked, or she is kind of like uh, uh, hired onto this team of women, female scientists, and one's an anthropologist, one's a biologist. I'm sorry, one's a physician, and there's a paramedic, and then there's the doctor who is the spearheading the whole thing, and they're played variously by Jennifer Jason Leigh, Tessa Thompson, Tuva Novotny, and Gina Rodriguez. And so they are going to be going into this weird, like anomalous stretch of land on a beach somewhere. I think it might be in the Northeast because the anomalous part of the beach surrounds this lighthouse where there was a collision of a meteorite that caused this sort of thing that became known as the shimmer. It's sort of like somewhere between liquid, solid, and gas, and it's slowly, very, very slowly growing. And so Lena's husband, who's known by his surname Kane, played by Oscar Isaac, was recently went in there and disappeared for about a year, and then he suddenly shows up again and is immediately taken ill. So she's sent into the shimmer in his place and encounters a lot of very strange things. And I'm really not going to go into detail about what's inside the shimmer. It's not something that you should talk about. I will just say that there are a lot of creatures that are very strange. Some of them are quite terrifying, and I'm not really going to say what the scariest two are. But there's other ones like an alligator with a very, very vicious mutation that crossbreeds it with another, water species. And there's a big, 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 big bear, like twice as big as the bear in The Revenant. And yeah, it's a very strange place, but yeah, that's basically the plot that I'm going to tell you. So I'm going to get into my negatives first because this is a positive review. And I'm just going to say that the middle act of the movie, okay, so there's two thoughts about this particular first thought, which is overall negative, but there's kind of two sides to it. So the negative part of this is that the middle act kind of enters into a routine of, they encounter something weird, it attacks them, and the group is kind of put into danger. It kind of, let's just say, whittles down the group a little bit. That's not going to be a surprise to anybody who watches this kind of movie. They're probably expecting that to happen. But I will just say that that's kind of the routine that it enters, and I don't really think that this movie needed to enter into a routine, but I have another thought about that in my positive section that I'll get to later. So that's one. Another thing is that you don't really get to know any of the supporting characters. And that really kind of sort of includes Oscar Isaac's character. He's not in this movie a lot. I know the trailers prominently feature him, but he's very much a supporting player. And you don't really you get some insight into their marriage, But for the other characters, literally, there's like one, you know, distinctive characteristic about them, and then there's a handful of personal demons that they have to deal with, and that's it. You don't learn anything else. It kind of slows the movie because you're supposed to be attached to their presence in the movie, and it doesn't really work that way, ultimately speaking. But yeah, there's also other thoughts, obviously, involved in that in the positive section. But in any case, those are my two major negatives, and it means that and then there's another one, but that's kind of in between. I'm about to get into that. So those two things kind of impede the movie, but the in-between thing is that it's sort of, I guess, a PSA for audiences who are going to see this movie. We are conditioned at this point as audiences to expect in our sci-fi movies that ask questions and answer them. I think that the best kind of sci-fi asks questions and then allows the audience to fill in the gaps. That's me personally. I know a lot of people disagree with that. This movie takes after Andrei Tarkovsky's sci-fi kind of double feature of Solaris and Stalker, two of the greatest movies ever made, in that way, because both of those movies were very similar. Tarkovsky was all about challenging audiences, and part of his kind of MO in that respect was to ask questions and then not provide any answers for the audience beyond what you see. And that means that there's a lot of philosophical elements to the storytelling that are never really clarified. And that's like goes hand in hand with his storytelling choices. And it seems to me that Alex Garland has taken that approach here, because let's just say that there is a source to the threat here, but we never really find out what it's or not a source. I'm sorry. So the source of the immediate threats is obviously the collision with the lighthouse that created the shimmer. And what's in the shimmer is this alternated reality that causes all of these things to come to life and all of that. You know, these creatures to attack them. We know that, but we don't know when we finally reach the point at which there's something of an intelligence. We don't know what the motivations, even if they even have motivations, being another kind of intelligence. We don't know any of that, and the movie doesn't explain it to us. So this is sort of a PSA to everybody who's going to see this. Don't expect to be handheld by this movie. And it also means that there's a bit of a coldness here. And that means that the movie kind of keeps the audience at arm's length. And that would be fine if not for the fact that the middle act does go through that routine to get us to an ending where, you know, looking back on it, it's kind of inevitable that we won't get all of the answers that we're seeking. So that's sort of an in-between positive and negative thought. I like the fact that they do this, but sort of the execution of that ideal is a little rocky. So those are my negatives / half negatives. And now to get into the positives, which definitely outweigh everything else. The performances are pretty much terrific across the board. Even as we don't get to know, you know, many of the characters, Jennifer Jason Leigh is fantastic as a as a doctor who is spearheading this extremely covert mission, and also has a secret that she's keeping from everybody else. That kind of plagues her every existence. It drives her decision to do this. Knowing that she's not coming back, and or knowing that she could not come back, I should say. And Gina Rodriguez is terrific as one of the basically like all three of the other women in the group are just absolutely great. They offer a whole lot on screen that's probably not on the page. And this is another example of Tessa Thompson being terrific. She just needs to be in everything. And then Tuva Novotny really surprised me. I had never seen her in anything that I know of. I think the last movie she was in was like Eat, Pray, Love or something. So she hasn't done a whole lot, but she's really great here as probably the friendliest group to Lena, the friendliest member of the group to Lena. And Natalie Portman, man, just great performance. It's one of her best, really, in general. And she is asked of. There's a lot asked of her here, and she meets it all with skill and professionalism. It's a terrific performance. So, also visual effects, stunning. They're not quite realistic, which makes them more effective because there's a fantastical quality to this, an unreal quality, if you will, particularly of the actual execution of the shimmer as we see it on screen. It doesn't look like it, fully interacts with the actors, and it's more effective because of that. Because of course the photorealism of something is not the only factor that somebody should take into account with visual effects. It has to be the general effectiveness, and here the slightly unreal quality of the shimmer itself is stunning, and it's a great setting when you get inside of it too. There's great production design, particularly when we get when or if we get to the lighthouse itself, and it's great, and that's it's a massive like visual achievement. Honestly, needs to be in the discussion at the end of the year for visual effects, and then finally, I wanted to pinpoint the ideas of this movie. There are ideas. It is not simply a procedural account. The ending, really the opening and the ending, kind of bring up these thoughts of what would, extraterrestrial intelligence look like. And it really digs deep into that, the philosophical differences, what it does to the human mind. And it's really, obviously a lot of these ideas don't resolve themselves. So it's mostly ideas, not, or it's mostly concepts, I should say. The concepts are really, really super ambitious. And that's exactly what sci-fi is supposed to be. That's why I love this genre. It asks questions, a lot of them philosophical and, futuristic. Looking forward ahead to the future with either optimism or pessimism. This is a very pessimistic movie. So, it's just one of those movies that's filled to the brim with ideas. It doesn't always work, but the fact that it's so ambitious just basically pretty much, it's like, wow. On every level, idea-wise, it's a total wow. In terms of storytelling, it's a bit choppy. That middle act, going into another of the positives, I wanted to bring up the other idea there. Even though the middle act is a routine, the fact that the set pieces are all so absolutely extraordinarily unnerving, like literally there's a scene here involving a creature I won't describe that is probably the single most terrifying scene in any movie. It's probably been several years. So just like, I know, Chase, you're seeing it later this week. Nothing can prepare you, but be prepared for that. And it's a great scene. I'm not going to give you any clues. I think that you'll know what I'm talking about. That doesn't just go to Chase, that goes to everybody. I think that you will feel the terror that I felt, that a lot of other people have felt during this scene, and you will know what I'm talking about. It is a marvelously effective scene, and it goes in hand with the other ones. It's just scare after scare after scare in this movie that didn't technically need to be that scary. It's a sci-fi movie. It's not particularly a horror movie. So the fact that they went so hard with it is awesome. It is very violent too. There's a surprising amount of gruesome violence in this movie that I wasn't expecting, particularly in that middle act. And anyway, it's unnerving stuff. So that middle act is a routine, but it's an effective routine. And even if it kind of goes by this structure that it kind of didn't need to, it could have been a little looser. I'm a fan of the movie overall, and I know that it's kind of being put on a lot of people's top tens. This early, or it's considered a contender. It's not quite that level for me, but I'm giving it a strong, solid B. And I think somebody put it really well. It's sort of like this 50 style B movie that's been played in the note of Solaris, or in the key of Solaris, kind of slow build, to a big finish. But the details of the plot are straight out of, this silly kind of Day the Earth Stood Still, very high concept 50s B movie material. And it's been given a workover, and I quite appreciate this movie. It's easier to admire the movie than to like it, but I do very much appreciate it. And so that's why I'm giving Annihilation a solid B.
Well, you know what? That makes me more excited to see it. I absolutely love when movies, take bold risks like that and don't spoon feed you and, kind of throw their version up on the screen, and you take away with it from what you will. And and especially like visual metaphor type of sci-fi, I love that stuff. And I said this last year, and I'll say it again. And they're about to. I firmly believe that they have two big hits within the film community on their hands, and I'll get to that in just a second. But Paramount, my God, listen, for every giant turd like Transformers The Last Night, I have to give you props for throwing this stuff out there with Mother, Annihilation, and I believe this will be I believe this will be the Get Out hit of the year, A Quiet Place. I firmly believe that is going to be a huge hit, and Paramount is behind it. I don't know who is in charge with their smaller movies over there, but you guys are picking some good ones. I like the fact that you just don't care in terms of like appeasing to audiences. That's what I meant. I didn't mean that in a negative way. Like like appeasing to the masses. Like you are taking risk, and you want to be like, you know what? We like this one. Let's throw it out there and see how it reacts. And like for Mother, for instance, it was a huge split amongst audiences. Annihilation is the same thing. I do believe A Quiet Place has more of a commercial appeal, so that will help it. But this just makes me more excited, man. I can't wait for it. So the only question I have for you, because it sounds like everything I was wanting to know, you pretty much answered for me. And I guess just a little background. I actually am on the same page as Joel. I like Ex Machina a lot, but I didn't fall in love with it like everyone else did.
It's a movie that for me didn't live up on a second viewing as much. I liked it a lot more on the first viewing. I think that the second viewing kind of ruins a little bit of the atmosphere.
Oh, I didn't see the second time, so
okay.
I own it on me.
I own it on Blu-ray. It looks amazing. It's just it's kind of a B minus thing for me. So
I have to ask you then, because Ex Machina was nominated for a lot. I know that you like Annihilation's a solid B. It's a good film for you. Do you think this movie has any chances? Like if you were to just kind of project and kind of see what's coming out so far, do you think this movie can get some nominations by the end of the year?
It's hard, because unless the sort of like the curse of the earlier movie is immediately broken by Get Out, I don't see that happening. But the sound branch would be foolish not to nominate the sound design. It is stunning work. I didn't mention that, but the sound design is amazing in this thing. A lot of complex elements that you're not expecting.
Okay.
And the visual effects are great. They are sort of those intentionally kind of slightly unpolished that I don't know if they'll go for that, but then again, they nominated, I think, Alice in Wonderland. So, or no, I don't think they did. But in any case, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it could, but we'll
Okay,
have to
so
see.
let me rephrase it. If you had to just pick one category that has at least a 50% shot at, which one is it?
Probably the sound design, because
Okay.
if the members of that branch see this movie, they're gonna be absolutely blown away. It's amazing sound work, and probably honestly, like it'll be hard to pick a mix, like a sound mix that's more stunning than this year.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard battle for that. I can't believe I didn't mention that in my positives. I'm trying to do a little,
Joel, this is what I'm here
shorter
for.
review.
I get the extra oomph out of you that you just the
Yeah.
potential that wasn't there. I help reach for you because that's just what I'm here for. But yeah, Annihilation. Please, if you guys see it or if you guys want to speak upon it, please let us know down below. Now, getting to Joel's second review with Game Night. I'm gonna go ahead and just say it up front. You guys know I love comedies. I love me a dark comedy. I have a twisted sense of humor. I like to think, and I do enjoy me some, raunchy stuff, some, dark stuff. I love all types of comedy. And so I didn't really like the first trailer to Game Night, and I didn't really want to see it. However, every person I trust on social media has said the same thing about the movie. I have heard it's okay. I've heard it's entertaining at least. I've heard it's enjoyable. I've even had some people go as far as to say, I liked it. And so I'm like, oh, well, maybe it was just a misrepresentation of the trailer. So Joel, I'm going to throw it over to you. Is this a movie that lived up to the, expectations of the trailer? Was it more? Was it less? And as far as, dark comedies in the vein of these directors, I don't count Vacation because that's more raunchy and it's gross humor and it doesn't work. But these are the same, from the same writers as Horrible Bosses. So does it kind of have like that type of feel, or is it different? Just all those questions answered. And Joel's thoughts on that. Joel, what do you got for Game Night?
Yeah, so it's been fascinating. So I'm gonna tell y'all this. I was looking forward to this movie. I saw Horrible Bosses. I didn't see the second one. I saw Horrible Bosses. I liked that movie a lot, and so thought it was really like demented and fun. Has a great Colin Farrell performance, and so I was looking forward to this on that basis. And it's interesting. So a new rule for myself, and I've actually been following it pretty well. I don't go to Rotten Tomatoes to see the consensus on anything unless I just happen to hear about it and it's like this big thing like Paddington 2, and it becomes a news story. Then I'll find out. But I will not intentionally go to Rotten Tomatoes to look at any sort of consensus until after I've seen the movie and written my review. So I saw the movie and I thought it was okay, but it was interesting because I then, the next day wrote my review and then I went to Rotten Tomatoes and I saw, whoa, this has an 81% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's what it has right now. So it's a fairly well-regarded comedy, and I can't say I'm a fan. So the plot of this movie finds Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams as a couple who is very competitive. It's actually how they met and fell in love and got married and planned to have a child. They're very competitive. They love game nights, and they are about to host one when it turns out that Jason Bateman's character's brother, played by Kyle Chandler, is going to drop into town after some time away. He's a venture capitalist who works in Europe, and he's in town. And so they decide to host a game night. And it just so happens that at the same time, the Kyle Chandler character's past catches up with him. I won't reveal what that is. But let's just say he's maybe not quite what he says he is. And it catches up with him in the form of a couple of kind of henchmen, thug people, come and and kidnap him during the game night, which leads the others to believe that it's part of the game night, because what he's told them is that he's hired a company that makes these kinds of things happen. They seem very authentic. You never know what's real or fake. Essentially, it's exactly like the game from David Fincher until a certain point. And so they are they think that it's real, so they hop across town trying to find him and using the clues that he has left for them when he originally intended to be fake kidnapped. So pretty demented, concept. I like that, but here's the big problem with the movie, and it's hard to describe without giving everything away, which I'm not going to do. But I'm just going to say that ultimately, meaning that by the very end, this movie kind of just reveals itself to be a twisted thriller. And the problem is that it's trying before that to be a parody of twisted thrillers. It's very much shot and stylized in the vein of a David Fincher movie, including this kind of throbbing synth-heavy score by Cliff Martinez. The cinematography is full of stylish one-takes that are well above the usual filmmaking for a comedy. It's edited in a certain way to match action movies than to match comedy movies. But it happens to feature this cast of characters who are raunchy and funny and go through a lot of, wacky adventures and all of that. They're very R-rated characters. They have a lot of, they have foul mouths, and it's very much silly comedy with the characters, but it just so happens that everything surrounding them is this twisted thriller that's just simply playing out as a twisted thriller separate from them. And so it becomes kind of this conflicting process of watching a movie that certainly is clever in its concept kind of shoot itself in the foot by taking itself ultimately too seriously. And that's the problem. It's like it doesn't clinch the end. It doesn't come to a point where it makes the punchline into a punchline. It's more just like it resolves itself in terms of the plot, and then that's it. It just kind of stops doing anything. And the cast is good. It's got this great scene-stealing turn from Jesse Plemons, who plays their neighbor. He's this weird antisocial cop who has just recently been divorced, and so he says everything with this extremely serious face. And the reason that the performance is so funny is because Jesse Plemons is not trying to be funny. He just is funny. And it's a great performance. Also really good, Kyle Chandler. He's this guy who thinks he's like this big shot, but he's actually kind of pathetic. Good performance. Rachel McAdams, terrific turn as this, this woman who ends up being slightly more capable than she realizes. Really good performance, but it doesn't know. And, Jason Bateman, solid, doesn't have a lot to do. But then you have these four other characters. There's their best friends who have been married for a while, Kevin and Michelle, played by Lamorne Morris and Kylie Bunbury. They're there to basically, she has revealed that she slept with a celebrity once, and he's trying to find out who that is. Didn't really do anything with that subplot. And then there's this ladies' man friend of theirs, played by Billy Magnuson, who has brought along an Irish woman that he thinks is British, and literally at one point she admits that she has no idea what she's doing with the group anymore, and that kind of sums up the entire subplot there. There's literally nothing done there. And so it just kind of wastes some of the cast members and, wastes some of its potential. But it's not terrible. It's, it's well made. It just misses the mark. And I wish I could be more high on it than I am. It certainly had a lot going for it, but I'm giving Game Night a C+. So it's a near miss for me.
Well, that is slightly disappointing. However, given the fact that you give it a C+, and I've heard great things from other people, it's like, at least that gives me the motivation to see it now. Because like before, it was just the trailer. I was not interested at all, and so this gives me at least a little bit of hope. So I will definitely check it out. But thank you for that game night review, fam. All right, so moving on to the box office results. So how did game night do, and how did Annihilation do, and how did Black Panther hold up in its second weekend? I'm sorry to inform to you guys, because I know you guys want to see me squirm in this section. I already saw the numbers and the places. So Joel, what is the order this week? And of course, mention any weird drops or pluses, minuses. What's going on in that box office this week? Did Black Panther only make $20?
Yes. Okay. No, there weren't any like huge drops. There was one big raise. Well, I guess unless you count an 83.5% drop for Bilal, which dropped from 51 to 60, but nobody cares about that.
Boy, that just shocks me. That is so shocking. Right?
That's literally it. And then there's also a big rise for Faces Places, which is probably going to win documentary feature next week. That added 3 theaters and made $15,000 this week. That's about it. So the top 5, at number 5, we had 50 Shades Freed with $6.9 million for a domestic total of $89.6 million and a worldwide total of $320.4. And it, of course, has a production budget of $55 million, so they've already made everything back, and yay! Okay. People made money. That's what I'm going to say. People made money. There we go. Number 4, Annihilation with $11 million. Not great because I don't think it has worldwide numbers yet. But yeah, it has a $40 million budget, so that thing's going to be struggling, but good on Paramount for releasing it because really, honestly, I don't care how much it makes. I just want people to see it. So number 3, dropping from number 2, is Peter Rabbit with $12.5 million for a domestic total of $71.3 million and a worldwide total of $72 on a $50 million budget. That thing's kind of struggling to get off the ground, but, whatever. I guess it'll make a lot on streaming and video. So, and then number 2 debuting is Game Night with $16.6 million. I don't think that has a worldwide total yet either. Oh, no, 21.8 on a $37 million budget. I'm going to assume that it's because they probably got some more high-tech like equipment to shoot this thing with, that it's a little higher than the usual comedy like this. It's going to make it a little harder to make it a comeback because they're going to have to make probably like $75 million to justify it. In which case that's going to be kind of a higher road to travel, but I don't know, whatever the case, that's what it is. And then of course, yes, number 1, obviously is The Death Cure. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God, if that thing rose from the grave and just like clawed its way up there, that would be pretty impressive.
No, actually, The Death Cure dropped from number 8 to number 16. It dropped 63.5% this week.
Good Lord.
But that's because it lost 940 theaters, so I guess that makes sense.
Oh wait, out of its 952 I'm looking at here, so it's only was that 12 theaters left? Yeah, pretty much. So let's see. No, I think that last week it had more than that. I think it's at 952 now. All right, so then, yeah, number 1. Staying at number 1 is probably going to stay there until Wrinkle in Time?
End of time. No, yeah. I don't think Red Sparrow can do it. I suspect Wrinkle in Time will probably knock it off, but I suspect that that's going to be a close battle, too, because I think it's still going to be around and people will want to see it. So, in any case, Black Panther, number 1, with $108 million for a domestic total, and this is insane for any movie, let alone one that's been out for 2 weeks. Or for 1 week, really. I mean, kind of. $400 million domestically. That is insanity for anything, especially this.
Joel, can I make a prediction?
What?
It's going to be the top grossing one domestically in the universe.
in the universe.
Yes.
In the entire universe. No, I'm just kidding. I know what you mean.
Yeah. No, because as you were talking about the box office, I was just curious about the week to week gross of the first Avengers, because right now that's the top grossing one at 623 domestically. So get this, it opened up to 207. Now Black Panther opened up to 202. That's not a big deal because on the second weekend of the Avengers, it got 103. This got 108, so it actually kind of evens out. And it took them, what is that? It took them a couple months to get to the 600 mark. I can tell you right now that this is going to reach 600 million by the end of March, and this is going to be the top grossing one domestically, and I would not be surprised if it's the top grossing one worldwide, even on top of the Avengers. So this one, congratulations, Black Panther, you are the top grossing one. Like, think about it, folks. Like, it's outgrossing ones like Captain America Civil War, which is a team-up movie, Age of Ultron, Avengers. That's insane. So
crazy cool. And worldwide it's at 704. It doesn't have a production budget listed. I believe I was told it's 200 million, and they've already made all of that back. So they've literally made back twice that amount for the theaters and probably all of its advertisements. So unless they I guess spent like 200 million on that, in which case they literally just made it back. But I doubt it. I would say that they would have needed to make 600.
Yeah.
Or maybe 500 or something like that to justify itself. Maybe 550.
I think
they've already done that.
If I had to peg a number, it was probably anywhere from 125 to 150 for marketing, because they aggressively marketed that movie.
Yeah, that's true, and that's actually why it's probably. I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of their higher budgets for advertising. Yeah. Because of the way that they were trying to sell this as, being the first blockbuster on this scope, on this scale to feature an all-black cast and a black hero. That's a big selling point that they really had to hammer in with a lot of marketing. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was about 150. So you're probably right, 550. And they've easily done that. So
isn't that nuts?
It's insane. Like, just domestically, okay, let's say that you're splitting up all the numbers evenly, right? And you basically just put it like this. They needed to make $400 million to break even on the movie. They did that domestically.
Yeah.
Just the domestic number. Just the domestic number is that in 9 days, 10 days. 10 days. It's insane. I love it.
I know.
Love seeing that happen. Great movie. So, yeah.
I can't wait to cover the box office for the weeks to come, but I'm telling you guys this right now. This will be the top grossing one domestically out of the entire universe so far, because... And
it might honestly be the top grosser of the year at this rate. Like, I wouldn't be surprised.
Because it's definitely... I hate to break it to you, Star Wars junkies, Joel, but Solo Cup is not going to get anywhere near that. So, and also,
I'm suspecting, like, if I'm gonna like predict a 10-day number for that movie, it'll be high. It'll be high because it's Star Wars, but I'm suspecting like 325. Something like that.
I'm going to be honest with you. The only two movies that have even a chance at Black Panther is Deadpool 2 and Infinity War. Those are the only two that could even come close. In Infinity War,
you just made a great point. Oh my gosh, Solo is going to crash and burn. I think that's its fate. I think that it's. I don't even know if it's going to do 300 in those 10 days.
There's no way.
Yeah, there's no way, because people are still going to want to see Deadpool from the week before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Infinity War is still going to be out there. So, yeah, they might want to have, like, rethought that. I don't know. It'll be interesting. May is fascinating to look at from right now. So, in any case, right now Black Panther is absolutely dominating everything about the box office, and it's probably going to do that for at least 2 more weeks. honestly, I could see it even stretching farther than that. So we'll see what happens. But if not Wrinkle in Time, probably Tomb Raider. Will be the first one to topple it. But yeah, I'm stunned by this, but very happy.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, man, that just blows your mind. I mean, Avengers: Age of Ultron, which is a team-up movie, by its 10-day total, it had $313 million. Black Panther's at 400. It's a solo movie. Like, I don't. My God, it's impressive. So yeah, that's it for the box office. I can't wait to discuss it each week because it's just going to get crazier and crazier. But yeah, so that will pretty much do it for this week's episode, guys. I apologize that I let you down in seeing Annihilation and or Game Night. But you know, Joel and I, we pretty much have the same taste. So unless I like Annihilation more or Game Night less, I can probably see myself to be aligned with his thoughts. But he did a good job, explaining that to you guys. But I will be back for next week because next week, Joel, for 220. Well, first of all, just to advertise it a little bit, we have a busy week coming up. We're about to record a Oscar thing for you guys that will drop on Tuesday. And if you're listening to this episode beyond Tuesday, congratulations, you have another episode waiting for you. But we have that on Tuesday. We're guesting on another one on Friday. Then we'll have our normal episode on Sunday morning. And then, of course, the live coverage of the Oscars. God help us, our voices are going to be dead.
I may just not speak for like a whole week after that.
Yeah, I think Joel's going to – his remedy is going to be tea, like hot tea.
Yes.
Because that is the only thing that's going to get him past it.
Green tea works.
It does.
I like green
really
tea
does.
a lot. So.
But yeah, we have a busy week coming up for you guys. We have a lot of stuff in the pipeline. But for the next episode for 220, our normal weekly episode, Joel, what are we doing next week?
Yeah, so we've got Red Sparrow coming out. That's the new movie starring the Hunger Games girl, Jennifer Lawrence, and directed by the guy who made 3 of the Hunger Games movies, Francis Lawrence. No relation to each other. And then I will be giving an extra review of A Fantastic Woman, which is one of the nominees in foreign language film. So that's actually the one that I'm predicting will win, so it's kind of timely. I'm seeing that on Tuesday, so I'm very excited for that. And yeah, that looks to be our episode. And of course, in the evening, join me, Chase, and Terrence. Right? Yeah. So yeah, we're obviously doing the live broadcast. I am literally going to be out at Chase's house all day, so that'll be fun. And so big week coming next week.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming at you guys, and I'm excited. So wait, Joel, are you telling me that we're not going to be reviewing the classic Death Wish remake?
Chase. No, we're not.
But Joel, I'm so confused. I'm really confused. I
have not seen the original Death Wish. I have no interest in seeing the original Death Wish in order to see the new Death Wish. So yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not even watching it. Like I have that goal of keeping up with wide releases. Mm-hmm. That's the exception. I have no interest in seeing that right now. So
well, you know what, folks, I tried for all you Death Wish fanatics out there. Joel just shot it down, and I can't really control it. So all right. So that will be next Sunday, and of course the live broadcast of that, and of course we'll drop the little special episode for you guys on Tuesday as well, so that will be a lot of fun. But that will do it for this week's episode, guys. Joel, where can the lovely people find you online?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at RealJoelCopling. That's REEL, Joel Copling. On Letterboxd at jcopling. You can find some of my writing at DallasMovieScreenings.com, for which this is the official podcast. And then on my website, joelonfilm.com, I have reviews, of course, of Annihilation, Game Night, Entanglement, The Female Brain, Golden Exits, and Looking Glass from this weekend. Busy week, so yeah, I had a lot of reviews on there for you to read.
Yeah, and just to carry off on the Twitter thing, I'm at Real Chase Lee, and of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have other reviews up there that will just sweep the nation and sweep the world, like my Bilal review that just keeps going up in views, and I'm sure people just keep scratching their heads as to why some fat white dude from Texas is reviewing that movie. But hey, you know what? We're all here, folks. But yeah, YouTube channel, and of course for this podcast, iTunes, SoundCloud, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, we're all over the place, so please spread it around and let people know this is the definitive podcast where you get your movie news, trailer reactions, and of course reviews, because we just love it when you guys come and join us. And hey, listen, if you made it through this entire movie podcast and you're not a movie fan, well, hopefully we convinced you to be one. That is Joel over there. I am Chase. Let's play the outro music, and all the links in the description will be down below. Peace out, everyone. See you next Sunday for the crazy day, y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.